Okay, so let's have a look at another example. It's a little bit trickier. So example 2, the verb, the doing word is still factorize. We want to factorize 2x squared minus 9 minus 18x plus x. So as per usual for this topic today, you can see that there's 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2x squared is your first term, minus 9 is your second term, minus 18x is your third term, and plus x is your fourth term. Now when you see 4 terms, you should try factorizing by grouping. So group them into pairs of 2 terms, right? So we would say, okay, your first pair, your first group is 2x squared minus 9. And then your second group is minus 18x plus x. Now, as we did before in example 1, we would then try to factorize each pair first. So if you're trying to factorize 2x squared and minus 9, well, what's in common between them? Well, one has an x squared, one has x's involved, the other one doesn't, so x is not a common factor. In terms of numbers, this one is a 2, that one's a 9. So there's actually no common factors because one's even, the other one's odd. So really, this 2x squared minus 9 can't be factorized. And this is where the trick is for this question. Well, we need to do a bit of rearranging in between these terms to actually find our common factors. So if you consider 2x squared, what else could be in common with 2x squared? Well, minus 18x could be in common because for starters 2 and 18 are even. And so they have a highest common factor of 2 in terms of numbers. This one has an x squared and this one has an x. So technically you do have an x in common. So let's do a switcheroo, okay? So let's just reorder our terms. So we want to switch around a negative 18x with a negative 9. Just going to switch that around so that we get 2x squared minus 18 as our first grouping, and then our second grouping of 2 terms is minus 9 plus x. Alright, as we said before, let's try and factorize out the first group. So 2 is in common, x is also in common. What is left over? We have an x, because 2x times x gives you 2x squared. 2 times a negative 9 gives you negative 18, and it has an x in there already, so you have in common x minus 9. Now you look at the second group. Well, how does x minus 9 plus x related to x minus 9? Well, really, if you rearrange the x and the 9, because 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2, the order of adding doesn't matter. I'm just going to swap around the x, the positive x and the negative 9. Remember, take the sign as well in front of the number or the variable. So really, I now have one lot of x minus 9 at the back as our second group. So then you're comparing, well, what's in common between our first term now and then our second term? Well, the brackets x minus 9 is in common. What is left over? You have 2x plus 1 being left over. So this is a little bit harder because you have to recognize that, hey, I can't factorize immediately the first pair the way I see it. I need to do a little bit of switcheroo to find common factors. So first you need to switch the negative 9 and negative 18x around so that you have a common factor in the first grouping. Then you need to realize that, well, if I wanted an x minus 9, I just need to flip my minus 9 and x around, and that's okay because 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. And then recognizing there's one lot of x minus 9 in the second grouping, so then you have x minus 9 in brackets in common between them. So you have 2x and plus 1 left over in your second bracket.